Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another video of the F1 22 Driver Career Mode with Williams. Episode number 21 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix of Season 1. If you missed the previous episode uploaded on Monday at the Mexican Grand Prix, I recommend you go and check that out and subscribe if you're new to the channel. See plenty more F1 22 Driver Career Mode videos. Especially as currently 8,640% of you are currently not subscribed to the channel right now. As well, I am trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so please do get subscribed if you enjoy content. But the content I put out as well, and open for suggestions for content that you want to see from the game. But anyway, enough about that. R&D. As you can see, we're just going through and trying to adapt the parts, and I think I've got it down where we've only got 4 parts left on both the aero and the sashi side. So as I said previously, if we can't get a move up the grid, then Williams should be in a good try and get Williams at least to the position they already are. But we're going to have a wet sprint and a wet qualifying as well. But at this moment in time, it's just about putting the freshest engines we have in the we've got as well. I did use an entirely fresh engine the previous race at Mexico, and now a couple of the parts are used, but there's not a lot of wear. So this pivotal part of the season where other teams may be suffering durability wise, we should be able to make
okay, here's an update. We've got a leak in the hydraulic system, so it's going to be a few minutes before we can get you back out on track, I'm afraid.
Well, as I was saying, trying to make positions up the grid, but it doesn't help when we've had yet another failure. Those failures are high. Like it's every other race I've had one of them, this career mode as well. But anyway, we're in the rain. We're down to P14 now. We're P13 as well. It's full wet conditions, so to be honest, the weather in this career mode so far has been as dry as has been in real life as well. So this is the first wet weather I've actually had to drive in at all. We'll have the first wet weather race in the sprint as well. Middle sector, I'm not entirely too sure about this setup, by the way, partly because it's set up, I think it's based, as you'll see later in the race, I think it's definitely set up to get me game time through the middle sector, but loses time to the AI still through the top first and middle sector, the first and last sector really. But anyway, so 3/10 up on Magnussen as we climb up the hill then, as the track starts to dry out a little bit towards the end of qualifying. What will this be? Losing a little bit of time out of that final kink there, and up to the line it's only going to be just over 2/10 improvement. And that is only good enough for P14, which is a little bit of a shame because Brazil tends to be a good track for me. But it's not too bad. We're only a couple of tenths away from Ricciardo, who's not technically having a very good season. We out-qualified Albon as well, who's down in P18 as well. So yes, for us, 14th in the grid. This is a good chance to get us further up the grid. We'll see what we can do in the final sprint of the season.
It's wet here today and we're expecting the downpours to continue. This will make for a difficult sprint for all the teams. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Sainz, Sergio Perez, and Hamilton, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, and Pierre Gasly. Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Valtteri Bottas, Phoenix, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel and Alex Albon. Joe and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Thanks, Mark. Ret strategy is going to be no stop because it's a 6-lap sprint on intermediates, not full wet. So we'll have to see what this is like. As 5 lights in for the third and final sprint, and away we go. And it's a horrible start. Horrible. Absolutely everyone has gone past. We're just going to absolutely send it like there's no tomorrow. On Bottas, we're going to try and squeeze Bottas to the inside the centre S, which we do squeeze him, as Bottas is now going to come back at us, but we're going to have the better of our fin in the air. This is the squeeze we applied. We just literally cut across him, but then he got the better exit, and then we started squeezing on the curb, and we finally get the better traction. But up at the front then, George Russell takes the lead. And the 2 Ferraris are ahead of the 2 Red Bulls, so that's not good news for Verstappen in his championship fight, along with Red Bull as well. Trying to look around the outside of Tsunoda at turn 4, unable to make it stick around the outside with the grip. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the intermediate conditions. You know, this is the first time we're on dry setup. We're going to dive down the inside here. Just get past it because they are far too slow at this moment. We need to gain the positions if we want to score points, and do exactly the same thing a corner later on Daniel Ricciardo and up to P11. So make good start. Got gained a couple of places. 11th wouldn't be too bad if we did qualify here, but we want to keep Ricciardo behind us. Bear in mind also, as you saw from the grid, that lots of people have got penalties, so this would actually probably catapult us even further, as well as Ricciardo gets pushed out there, and you know that's going to allow Tsunoda to get in front of Ricciardo, who's not having a good end of the season, you know. As well as jump back to our PV. That was it for the sprint. I could not get past Gasly. I was close to the middle sector, but he just had too much pace on the intermediates in the end, and then we have to settle for P11. It's a little bit disappointing there. You know, we made such a good start, gaining those 3 places, keeping Ricciardo at bay, and then was unable to get past Gasly as well. So yes, Russell though did win that sprint, and he gets driver of the day for it. So Russell ahead of Leclerc, but Sainz getting in front of Verstappen wasn't good for Verstappen's chances. So Verstappen's lost points. Leclerc can round out the championship in the race, should it stay as it is, I think, as well. But you know, we were a little bit behind Gasly in the end. Ocon as well, the 2 Alpines looking very good as well. So time though for the race to see what we can do, see how many positions we can gain.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us all to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. 2 very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Yung Cao into one of the 2 DRS zones will be key to any overtaking prospects today. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Sir Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Phoenix, Sainz and Valtteri Bottas, Stroll, Vettel, Alex Albon and Ocon, Mick Schumacher, Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Ricciardo. They've taken a grid penalty. Joe and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So we're up here in P8, it is. Game 3 positions, thanks to some lots of penalties. So, you know, we've got faster drivers behind that will want to come through and get past us as quickly as possible. So, you know, it's just about placing our car correctly and seeing if we can get some big points to round off this season and impress the bosses at Red Bull. So, yes, 5 red lights then for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Lights out and away we go, and it's still a mediocre start. Look at the start Bottas has got, but we're going to dive down the inside of Gasly and Bottas. You know, had enough of being stuck behind Gasly in the sprint, and Sainz has got in front of Bottas there as well. Was there a bit of a squeeze applied? All there was. There was a bit of a squeeze applied, and then they went 3 wide behind, you know, and Gasly got squeezed out. Bottas got a bit squeezed between myself and Gasly. You know, Sainz was there, lifted there. As Alonso, a great start from Fernando Alonso, who's got in both Red Bull. That's disastrous for Red Bull. You know, they need, you know, Red Bull needed to be getting in front, especially Verstappen, in front of Leclerc to keep his championship title tight to take it to Abu Dhabi. The final race, but nothing to do there. As you know, Alonso, this is good for us because he's slow, and we're going to take full advantage with the AI fast asleep in this train, and we're going to dive down inside Lewis Hamilton up to P6. So you know, Alonso is slow. Don't know if there's a little bit front wing damage or damage, and floor damage maybe that he sustained with that fight with Verstappen, but he's doing a very good job to keep the 2 Red Bulls, as we've got past Hamilton, who fell asleep there behind the 2 Red Bulls, clearly. Sainz as well, I hope to keep those 2 behind, and you know, we're just hoping that Perez can just drag us along in his DRS, because he gets such a up the hill. I can't match the AI, but you know, through the middle sector I'm able to be faster. That's where this setup is particularly advantageous. And I don't know whether or not there's a little bit of the AI still on there, a bit of AI OP traction as well, which I believe is still partially in the game, and they've solved some of the stuff about rate stuff, and then also double R&D upgrades applying. But enough about that. We couldn't get past Perez, in the pits before the pit stop, so we'll have to wait and see. There is Alonso in, we're in, and I think we're going to help Verstappen get past Alonso as we come out behind Alonso. We weren't this close to Alonso, so I think as we were coming in, Alonso was ready to leave, but he got stuck behind, and you know, Verstappen, his Red Bull garage being further up, was able to. Sainz has jumped both of us, so you know, we need to get past Alonso as quickly as possible, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. And up to P6, back up to P6, but we jumped by Sainz. Russell has lost the lead, and he's lost out to both Red Bulls as well. Terrible stop for Russell. I think he might have had damage or something, or just get held in the pits. So that's unfortunate for George. He's lost 3 positions, and Leclerc leads the race from Perez, not Verstappen. So at this moment in time, Charles Leclerc is running away, and he's running away to victory, and he's running away to his first World Championship in Formula 1. So with a race to spare as well, you know, he has been dominant in the early part, but late he hasn't really won he's only won a couple of races, not really been there to be able to challenge for the titles. We've got a slightly bigger problem in the form of Fernando Alonso. We had to close the door harshly on Alonso there to squeeze him out, you know, otherwise he would be, you know, just look at this, you know, we left the door open, but then we closed the door at the last minute, and Alonso goes a little bit wide. Hamilton unable to take advantage there. Hamilton's a big loser because, you know, look at Sainz now. We've actually dropped Alonso, but we're as fast as Sainz at this corner, but I'm unable to get the traction there, so it might have to be a dive down the inside rather than the outside, because Sainz places his car very cleverly, and just close it, as you can see here, you know, still unable to get past on lap 13, as well as Perez is just not no pace on those hards. He's not letting Verstappen pass, which is very controversial, I must say. Whether or not I decide to leave, we'll have to wait and see in season 2. So we close up again to Sainz at this corner. This time though, we're going to send it to the inside. Sainz, no option but to give me the room. You know, that was a huge dive bomb down the inside of Sainz. You know, a little bit fed up. I've just been stuck behind and unable to progress forward in this race. And, you know, that's going to allow Alonso to be all over the back of Sainz. But Sainz, of course, isn't going to give up there. He's going to have DRS, and as we've lost DRS to Russell, you know, and we're able to defend the position from Sainz. Again, still no DRS through this corner. Now up to turn 4, we're going to have to deploy all the DRS, but we're out of DRS. So that's a little bit unfortunate there. We're going to defend the inside from Sainz and retain P5 as well, but Sainz isn't going to give up there. He's going to have DRS. We have DRS now from Russell, but we've fallen outside again, you know. Fighting Sainz isn't going to help us, but then, you know, the two Red Bulls and Russell aren't too far ahead. This jump to the final lap now. Sainz is having another go, and this time he's drawn level with us. A little bit of hand frustration pulls out. Sainz has gone wide, I think, and Alonso has gone through. So it is a bit of a replay as well, you know. Sainz, you know, we pull to the left hand side, and then Sainz goes to the right hand side. A little bit of closeness there, and then Sainz just, you know, understeers, and that allows Alonso to go through. Alonso has a go at us, but we're just having absolutely none of that. So, you know, we've got 5th and 6th place for our teams, Alonso and I. The rest of the grid, you know, Bottas, and I think that's Gasly, are also closing in as well, but we're unable to close in on Russell, you know, just showing the pace difference still between the Williams and the Mercedes there, but, you know, showing what we can do in a car, possibly what we could do to upstairs for Red Bull as Leclerc comes across the line to win the World Championship. We're going to come across the line, or are we, to get P5 as Alonso closes up? And did we get P5? Hopefully we did. There was a little bit of a photo finish. Just about hang on for P5 there in the end. As well. Wasn't quite the close as the one we had at Jeddah. But Charles Leclerc, world champion.
And with that, another year of Formula One draws to a close and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers.
Leclerc definitely deserved that, winning, what was it, 5 of the first 6 races as well. You know, Ferrari have done something that they won't be doing in real life and winning the World Championship. Bearing in mind, as there's a floating camera there, you know, they haven't had the pace of late, so that'll be interesting to see how Ferrari get on into season 2. But for us, P5 again. You know, I mean, we qualified P14. Albon suffered. I think he had a big issue and got, I'm not entirely sure. I think he had an early stop for a front wing change, which is why he was P18 today. But, you know, we're comfortable now in P10. Ocon, I don't think, scored today. And, you know, we're now 10 points ahead of Haas as well, and unless they get a double point score at Abu Dhabi, which they haven't done so far, Alfa Romeo are technically still within reach, but I don't think we're going to get them. So, you know, especially definitely not going to catch Bottas. So we're here in P10, 10th in our first season. Definitely isn't bad. Abu Dhabi is the final race. That'll be out on Monday, and then also next week will be Season 2, hopefully starting as well. Probably on Tuesday, because F1 Manager 22 is out on the Thursday as well. But you know, again, you can say that I need to adjust the AI. I'm still yet to find a rhythm with the consistency. The AI being really up and down, I find, on this year's game. So it was really hard to find that balance between races as well. So that's something I'll have to look at as well for Season 2 and beyond as well. So yes, that's where I'm going to leave it today's episode. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and you see plenty more F1 22 Drive with Creamer videos going into Season 2 as well. So until the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care, thanks so much for watching, enjoy your day, and goodbye.